We're going to look up. We're not going to look up at the sun. We're going to look up lumber markdown. Here we have old school and new school. VLOOKUP, my favorite, and I still use VLOOKUP. XLOOKUP, the newer tools, depending on what version of Excel you have. If you have an older version of Excel, you're going to be stuck with VLOOKUP, but XLOOKUP is the go-to today. And it's just a lot of stuff packaged in this XLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is limited, but very useful, and I'll explain both. What are we trying to do? As I said, we're going to look up lumber markdown, and it's very straightforward. We're going to have a bunch of different name ranges, and we have this narrative over here that will explain anything that I don't cover. Brad Williams, Excel Prime. How about XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP? What's the difference? Well, other than one starts with an X and one starts with a V. Yeah, I know I'm killing myself here. Really? All right, the XLOOKUP is the latest, greatest. It's the Ferrari, if you will. The VLOOKUP, it's been in my back pocket for so long that converting over to XLOOKUP is the XLOOKUP. We have a lookup factor. We have a lookup array. We have a return array, not found. We have this rather sophisticated match mode. This is the beauty of XLOOKUP and XMatch and X everything else. Then we have the search mode, which is another nice feature. VLOOKUP, it's the Volkswagen these days. But guess what? It gets the job done. What do we get with the VLOOKUP? Well, we have the lookup value, the table array, the column index, and the range. Right off the bat, the range lookup is weak. The column is weak. XLOOKUP can go left. It can go right. VLOOKUP is limited. It really is. So, it's like anything. It's aged. It's done its job. It's time to go to XLOOKUP. They both do the same job here, but down the road, we're going to look at some stuff, and the only way it can be done is with XLOOKUP. And that is because we want the exact match or next larger. You can't do that with VLOOKUP. Our search mode, well, we can search from first. We can search from last. We have this binary and other binary. We're not going to focus on that because we're not working with D function, which is the database function. Other attributes within this XLOOKUP that the VLOOKUP doesn't show. There are a number of significant differences between X and V. As the second argument, VLOOKUP requires the complete list. XLOOKUP requires only the lookup value list. Tomato, tomato. VLOOKUP needs a column index argument to specify a column. XLOOKUP needs a list. That's big. All right, that's significant. We're lookup array, our lookup, and our return array, as opposed to we have a table array and we have a lookup array. Really, would you know the difference? And then any other features? Let's just dive in. We have the XLOOKUP, we have the lookup value. What's the lookup value? Here, it's going to be E5. What's E5? It's 5. We're looking up 5. Our lookup array is price reduction. We have our name ranges. So price range is B5 to B14, which would be here. We have this return array, which is the markdown. Markdown 342, which is, you notice right off the bat with VLOOKUP, we have to capture this entire list. Here we have the option. You notice that? We're just picking and choosing what we want. We're not weighing this thing down. Let's say we have just a ton of information here and we want B, and then our outcome is, well, maybe all the way over here in J. Well, we wouldn't have to mark all of this non-useful information, okay? That's helpful. Some other little bells and whistles. We have a return array, which is, well, our markdown. And then if not found, you can list nothing, not found. You can write whatever you want. Just remember, if you don't use it, put a comma after the non-use. If you're going to use it, put quotes around any comments. Then we have match mode right here, match mode. And we have this search mode. If you don't want to use the match mode, but you want to use the search mode, leave a comma. Just put 1, -1, 2, or 2, -2. That's XLOOKUP. Again, it replaces VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index, and match. Ouch, you're going, all right, Williams, why did we do all this VLOOKUP stuff and HLOOKUP and index match? Well, it replaces not everything, but it's a possible substitute for this. In fact, XLOOKUP is a possible substitute for VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and index match. There will be circumstances where XLOOKUP is suitable, VLOOKUP is suitable, HLOOKUP is suitable, and index match is suitable. VLOOKUP, here we go. What do we get under the hood? We get the lookup value, which is what? Well, look how cumbersome this is. E5. E5, we know, is the same as XLOOKUP, but then we have this table array. What is the table array? Lumber discount 342. So we have to grab this entire list. As I mentioned, if you have a bunch of extra information over here, but markdown was at the very end and your reduction was right here, you're gonna have to grab all of this stuff. And you could have 1,000 rows and you could see the burden. And then lastly, we have this column index, and then we have range lookup as the default, okay? So simple math is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 arguments, and then only 4 here, but then we have a whole bunch of subs. Your choice, depending on the application, pick A or B. It does matter when you want to fine tune. I am slowly working into XLOOKUP. Again, I've been using VLOOKUP for ever and ever and ever. And the type of work I do, I don't need XLOOKUP, but I want to be up to date. And so XMatch and XLOOKUP and all the other tools are slowly being integrated into my work.
Be sure to check out all of our Excel courses. Excel data and text manipulation. We have an advanced beginners and an intermediate course. Excel essentials. This is for individuals new to Excel. We have an advanced, excellent beginners, level 1 and level 2, and intermediate level course. Excel formulas, formulas only. We have a beginner, an advanced, and an intermediate level course. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out.
So here, do I need to walk you through this? I will. I'll show you through it once or twice. E5, price reduction. We already know what the price reduction is. We just highlight this. Look up, look at the color. E5 is right here. Price reduction, lookup array. And that is what? Price reduction is 342. We'll look at the color. It's going to be B5 to B14, as shown here. The markdown is going to be, well, the markdown, it says markdown. And that is markdown 342 right here, C5, C14. And then all we want is the return array. No, we want the match mode. What is it? -1. We've had this conversation before. -1, search from last. Match mode. Exact match or next smallest. And you know how this works. We're going to look for anything from 5 and, well, let's look at this. We have 26. We go to the next smallest. Anything at 29.99 is going to register at 2%. For example, 29.99 be 2%. All right, we go to 30, it goes to 4%. Is that fair? Well, I didn't make up this. Well, I did make up this list, but you probably want to modify that. You can simply do this. You can change this right here to we can go to 1 equals exact match or larger. So if we just change this to 1, what's going to happen? Anything from 0 to 5 is going to be 2, or 0 to 1499. And then if we go here, if we just change this, so anything from 15 to 29.99 is going to be 4%. Kind of screwy here because we're offset. You see how this 2 is here? It's sort of crisscross and it's hard to read. And that's just the difference. Okay, go over here. Look at VLOOKUP. All right, this is pretty much E5. We know lumber. We know we're just looking here and we have this column number. We didn't incorporate the range lookup. Our choices are limited. We have approximate match or exact match. The approximate match is going to be what? The equivalent of 1, smallest. We can do this. We can go -1. No, we can't do -1. We either have 1 or 0. That's it. 1 is going to be exact match. 0 is the exact match. Okay, so 0 and 0. It's either 1 or has to be 1. Has to be an approximate match. So 1, and then if we change this back to -1, -1, and -1, -1, 0 or 1 is, and this is where I always screw up, folks. 1 is true, 0 is false. And approximate match is the lowest here in VLOOKUP. Okay, which is the equivalent of a -1 in XLOOKUP. If XLOOKUP is new, read this information, look at the difference, and play around. Change these numbers around. Change the markups. Make them closer together. Put them closer together and see where the breakpoints are. Change the XLOOKUP. There's a whole lot of options here. Practice. Just practice, 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 practice. Brad Williams, XL Prime. Thanks for your time. Williams out.